Welcome to the Building Texas Show. This week, I'm excited to sit down with some retailers from my hometown, Boerne, Texas, and we're talking to the team from J Forks. And as we tell their story and understand what they do, it's an entrepreneurial story, and we're going to go through 25 years of history as a retailer and the ebbs and flows of that. You're also a mother-daughter team.
Yes.
So I'm excited to talk about the challenges that come with that, but there's also a lot of blessings that come with that. So we're going to dive into what is it like to be a retailer on Main Street, Texas today. And I'm thrilled that y'all are sitting here with me to do this today.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for having us.
I'm going to pick on Hallie a little bit as you're new to this. And
Yes.
I say new, but I'd say probably the last 5 years maybe, you've been in the retail space with your mom at J Forks.
Yes.
What's it been like to come in and work with your mom in a retail setting? What's been your takeaway from that?
It has been very fun. But growing up, since I was little, I was always with her and basically everywhere with her. So growing up I've always been around it. But 5 years ago is when I actually started working for her. I would do little side jobs with her when I was younger, get paid a few bucks. But now, 5 years, it's great. Some days are a little hard, but we're mother and daughter, but we love it. And it's really awesome to just spend that time. But you have to find that balance too. Because
How do you turn off the workday? Because that is the balance that you're striking. You have a personal relationship with your boss in these ways, co-owner in some ways. But then you have to have the business conversation. Some of that is hard.
yes.
And some of it is a challenge. You're presenting a new idea. How do you take that?
Some days it's like I need my mom, but when you walk through those doors, it's like, hey, you're here for work. You got to wait till after before, or pull her aside on lunch break if I need her. But we're pretty good about balancing that out as well. People always joke because at the store I'm always like, oh, Jenny the owner, Jenny this. And I'm like, I never say who I am. Not because I don't want people to know, but because I am working for her. She is my boss. And I don't think people realize that. They just think, hey, you're her daughter, so you probably get everything, or you get to do this. Nope, I work there hourly too. But it's fun.
Well, what I've been most impressed with is your jump into social media. I think if we look at our Main Street businesses, and I think this is true in all rural America towns, but in rural Texas towns in particular, you're always trying to attract. And you're on a main state highway, so how do you get somebody to stop and park? Y'all have parking, which is not every store on Main Street in our town has parking. But I've seen you really separate yourself from other stores on Main Street because you're putting out the funny skit reels or the fashion shows. You're really engaging with a broader audience. So
Yes. And well, nowadays you have to. I mean, everything's turned to social media, Instagram, TikTok, just every platform you could think of. That's where you have to get the attraction now. Because if, right now, we're slow on Main Street, slow summer. So it's where can I find it? How can I reach those people? And a lot of people, they want the serious videos, but then, hey, throw in a funny video. And we get the most likes and interactions on those funny videos. And it's, even if it's oh, my husband told me not to go shopping, or I can't spend any more money, but here I am. And it's us just throwing clothes together, walking through and proving it to our husbands we can shop. And it's very relatable to people too. And it's very trial and error. You just have to try something. If it works, great, do it better next time. If it doesn't work, don't do it again.
But that's the entrepreneurial spirit there. It's hard, one, to put yourself out into social media land, your face, your video. But then to take it when it doesn't work, it doesn't land, you don't feel the rush of, hey, everybody liked what I made. You have to get up the next day and do it again.
Yes, that is for sure. Because there's been videos that, we've got 45K views.
Yeah.
And then there's a video the next day and it's we got 100 views. What did I do wrong? Oh, you didn't do anything. People just didn't like that video or couldn't relate to it as much. So don't do that again. Try something else. You just have to get up, like you said, and keep going.
So anecdotally, what has that done for you? We can talk about likes and views, but does it draw people into your store? Have you received that feedback?
It has. besides getting a lot of more interaction, we have had other boutiques reach out to us and be like, hey, next time y'all do a video, like, let's collab, let's do something together. And that opens just a whole nother door itself. And that's basically what we want to do. It's not just, hey, who can we get in to purchase clothing? Who can we get in to buy jewelry or just come in? It's like, we don't want to, Boerne's very competitive, and we don't want to be like, oh, don't go to our neighbors, don't go to that store, don't go to, no.
Community.
Yes, we want to build every shop up. And it's like, hey, if we can partner on something together, let's do it. And social media is that platform now where you have to.
We, the Building Texas show featured a small town named Comfort, Texas recently. And that was part of the conversation we were having with that community is how do we build each other up? Because if you come to one store, you're probably going to go to the others.
Yes.
But you have to attract that person there first. And it might be J Forks that attracts somebody. It might be Free Roam that attracts somebody. But you're sharing that customer base, that tourist that's coming to town.
Yeah. And you can't get your feelings hurt. We get people that come in all the time, and if they have other stores' bags, I'm glad you found something in our small town. Like, I'm glad you can take something with you. Even if you live here, I'm glad you found it. Or if you're just visiting from out of town, hey, you found something in Boerne. It's going to bring you back. You're going to remember it. You don't have to buy just something for us. Like, my mom uses our business as kind of a platform just to get us out there. Hey, who are you? Who's your story? Like, introduce yourself. Like, we want to be your friend. We want you to come back and remember us. We have clients in California that come back every year. Their mom lives in San Marcos, and they'll drive just to J Forks just to come try on clothes, see us, because they remember us every single year, and we're a destination shop now for them. That experience is really impactful and important. And the key takeaway that I'm hearing in this is just willing to put yourself out there.
Yes.
Your mom pushing you to say, introduce yourself on video and say, I work here. For a lot of entrepreneurs and early career professionals, that's a hurdle that is difficult to overcome. So it's nice to see you doing it, putting yourself out there. And I would, again, commend that you're doing that not only for J Forks, but Taco House right next door to you and the shops the other side of you. We all rise when we get that tourism.
Yes.
So Jenny, I want to pivot to you and what drives that? You've been in the 25 years, I've seen you really blossom from a store in Bandera, a store at the Rim, down back to Boerne. I think 2 different locations on Main Street in Boerne. But you're also a wholesale distributor. You've got partners and distribution outlets across the country.
I do.
So you've built quite the brand with your design work, and now the retail center behind it.
Yeah. So Hallie was my driving force, is the reason I started everything. I got pregnant with her young. If people don't know my story, I was 17 years old, a senior in high school, and what I thought my career path was going to be and what I was going to do turned out to be, no, I'm going to be a mom, but how am I going to make this family happen? How am I going to provide for this family? And I'm part Native American, and I love stones, and I've loved beadwork my whole life. And so I thought I'd bring that in. I'm the biggest tomboy there is. I wear the minimalist amount of jewelry, but I love creating and designing and putting outfits together. And I see in color, and I see, oh, that's what you should wear. This looks great on you. And so bringing that in, and when I was faced with those trials and going through what I did, walking the path I did, being a senior in high school, walking the halls pregnant, it made me realize that, well, I've got to figure this out. And it didn't matter if I was scared of something or not. Okay, it's got to be done. I'm the one that's got to do it. And so I learned how to put myself out there at an early age. And I learned that no is not, it's just a closed door. There are other doors, there's windows, there's ways to get around, and you're going to get way more no's than you are ever going to get that. But when you get that one yes, it just opens more doors, and it's all about community. And that's what I try to express to both my kids is it's not necessarily what you know, it is to a degree, but it's who you know. And it's not just about using people, it's about this community that you create, that you can rub each other's back and scratch each other's back and get through. Life is hard enough on its own, and the world we live in, the economy, the just climate that we're in right now, it's hard enough. We need to do this together. That's the only way to get through.
Yeah, and you bring up some important topics I don't want to miss. You're a published author, you're a keynote speaker, so there's a lot of things going on in the entrepreneurial world of Jenny Forks, but I would encourage people to come to your website, know more about your book and your story. But then I'd say today we look at Boerne, and I think the perception is it's a wealthy town. People come here all the time. There's always traffic. Is that your experience as a retail owner on Main Street?
So I moved to Boerne in 2002 and opened my first storefront here in January of 2003. So I was at the cusp of, yes, people were moving here, but not like what it's been in the last 3 years, 5 years even, with the explosion. And yes, so happy that people are moving here, and I'm not taking away from that. It's more business for everybody. It brings people, new faces, but it also has hurt us, the climate that we're in right now, the economy that we're in. I tell people this all the time. I'm in retail. I'm a luxury. Yeah. Yes, I try to have quality and very affordable prices, which I think we do very well, but we're still one of the first things you're going to cut out in hard times, and we're going to be the last thing that comes back because you're going to be more concerned with, oh, I've got to pay for schooling for kids, sports for kids, groceries. I mean, just the world that we're living in. And so that's why I said building this community. But I've been back on Main Street in Boerne for 4 years now, and it's been great. And the last 2 years, it's been a little more difficult. And especially this last year, I have definitely seen a turn, and it is in the whole community itself. And it's not that we've lost customers or shoppers. It's, no, we can't spend as much, or I can't get it this time, but maybe next paycheck. And as far as the community goes, as far as like just the leaders in our community, what are we doing to bring people together to promote all, not just retail businesses, but keeping everything local? We have the I-10 and 1604 shutdown every weekend during summer. I've heard from numerous customers, and San Antonio is a big base that we pull from. It's a day trip. It's a weekend trip for people, and they're cutting Boerne out of that because they don't want to deal with the road construction or the shutdown and sitting in 2 to 3 hours of traffic.
So I think just to paint a clear picture for listeners that might not be from the San Antonio area, Interstate I-10 really runs right next to our town.
Right next to.
And it's about 150,000 people a day that go down that highway. So when you cut off that artery coming out of San Antonio north to our small town, that means the big 2 million people in San Antonio, a percentage of them will go travel in the hill country and enjoy a day on Main Street. And they're not doing that. And that has been, in this summer season, 2 to 3 weekends a month.
Oh, it's been almost every single weekend.
And the trickle down to Main Street, because that is Boerne, that is Fredericksburg, that is Comfort, that is the hill country, the broad hill country, feels that effect. I've seen that.
Definitely.
So let's swing back to retail Main Street and how it serves our local. So we've had a lot of people move to our area. Hallie, when you're in the store, do you see a lot of local traffic coming in there, or is it really retail traffic that you see from tourism? How do you measure that balance?
A lot of it is, yes, we do have our good customers that are loyal, and some customers that come once a week just to even see, hey, what's new? But most of it is going to be our tourists. Like it used to be, like my mom said, like maybe when we first moved there in the first 2 years of being there, it was a lot of locals. But lately it's more, we're relying on tourists. And I even drove down Main Street, when was that? 1:00 p.m. in the afternoon. There's a lot of a lot of cars driving, but no one's walking. Like no one's out and about.
I mean,
it's
last summer's heat.
Yes. But it's a lot of traffic, but not the foot traffic. And I don't think we're getting as much tourist anymore.
Yeah, or at least the buying tourism, because we might be attracting people to our area, but if it doesn't translate into your store, how would you recognize that?
Exactly.
So what is your call for locals? Because I live locally, and if I thought about it and I'd say, well, I'm going to go in to Main Street retailer and support them, what would compel somebody like me, and I might be the wrong audience, but what would compel that local person to come in and buy their birthday gifts or their coworker gifts, whatever it might be, from your store versus going to the Rim, to something more national? That's who you're competing with.
We are America. We are what America started as. We are the small business owner that dreams are made of, that people that come to not just our area, but our country, that with dreams and hopes and we are trying to live and fulfill that. And so you're not supporting a big corporation where the CEO is taking home $2 million and everybody's working at minimum wage. I pay more than minimum wage. It's Bernie, you have to.
Yeah.
But not only that, it's the quality of people. And I want to know people's stories, and we want to tell you our story and just get to know us and in turn become friends.
Yeah.
Because you're helping an American dream happen. And that is our shops on Main Street. We are not these big companies. We are mom and pops. We are your neighbors. We are your friends. We are your family. And I just encourage people to know you're not just supporting a big corporation where they're taking home thousands and millions of dollars. You're supporting a family.
And that's true of retailers up and down any main street,
Absolutely.
I believe.
And I was going to kind of jump off that. Us specifically, to like pinpoint just J Forks, we are very hands-on. Jenny designs and hand makes all the jewelry. We do our graphic tees, design and make those. We have the hat bar. We do trucker hats, Western
right
hats.
In front of you,
we do it, right on front of you, very hands-on. And you can't go anywhere in San Antonio. You can't go to the mall and do that. You just can't. And there's probably other stores that offer that as well, but that's something cool to me is like you can go in and you can say, I want this done, and customize it. And we're like, hey, come on, let's go for it. And we'll run with you.
You create an experience and they're going to come back. It's
Yeah.
memorable. It's why you have loyal customers. How do you translate that into e-commerce? You all have a beautiful website.
Thank you.
Where would people find your website?
It's jforksdesigns.com.
Perfect. So jforksdesigns.com, you do a great job. Your pictures are really compelling. It's easy to navigate. Do you see a lot of e-commerce?
We do. We have a lot of out-of-state followers. But when I first started my business, I traveled a lot more to different shows like the NFR, the National Finals Rodeo.
Just with the jewelry.
But with just the jewelry and our graphic tee line.
Yeah.
And we would meet people all over the country. I've been all over this country for my business, from New York to LA, and across the country and everything in between. And I spent a lot of time, and that's how the kids and I would travel and vacation, and we get to see places like Arizona and the desert because we turned a work trip into let's stay 3 extra days,
Yeah.
and we could see things like Yellowstone or different places. So we have a huge following. So when I launched the e-commerce site, it was just to be like, bring everybody a little closer to home because they are, nationwide. And so we put a lot of effort in, like you said, to taking the photos for the descriptions and what we do to make sure it's represented. And it shows who we are. So you might not be able to come in our store, but maybe you get a feeling and a sense of who we are and that we're still a mother-daughter team.
Yeah. And I think that's an opportunity for the entrepreneurial side of our Main Street retailers. I opened the show really complimenting your social media and what you're doing because it is a compelling story, and you don't have to be here. You can be anywhere in the world and enjoy the entertainment and the messaging coming out of J Forks. But then it's how do you convert that and turn that into a loyal follower, becomes a loyal customer, and repeat. And for our Main Street, it's how do you put that out to the world? How do you make it relatable to where they feel like they're part of your journey? They understand, they've read your book, they understand your past, they love it. Like, to me, that's a compelling sales point, but you have to get it out there in front of your customer base. And
You have to be willing to be
in.
vulnerable and answer people's questions, because it's funny because when we put a lot of the videos that we'll do together or that we have upcoming, and it's kind of behind the scenes and it's us bantering or different things, I'm gonna tell you what, people love to know the behind the scenes and what is life like? What do y'all talk about? What do you do? It's not just that professional photo all the time. It's just being real with people. And I think we need more real in the world.
Authentic
Yes.
is what I'm seeing in your social media. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you're not out paying somebody tens of thousands of dollars. I mean, I hear some of the prices on SEO or building a website, e-commerce platforms, social media management. If I'm a small business or retailer, like, none of that is approachable.
No, nothing. No, there is not an affordable option, whether it be in the retail world or even my book world. You're supposed to have a publicist or an agent, and that's where I feel like, well, it's me. You get me, and because it's not an attainable number for a small business owner.
So how do you overcome that? Because I'm saying it to motivate other small business owners, other retailers that are hearing this interview and saying, oh, I wish I could do what Hallie's doing, but she must have a big team behind her. And I know the reality of that. But it's that first step into that is where I think a lot of our small business hurdles occur. I don't know how.
One, people need to remember to, like, I look back when I first started doing social maybe 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, it was terrible. Like the picture
we look back on something,
and I'm
so
like,
we actually put that out there.
Yeah, and people liked it then, and I'm like, but I've grown so much. I didn't go to school. I didn't go to school for marketing, anything. I'm just like learning as I go. And yes, I make mistakes. Sometimes I forget, oh, I should have tagged the person that took that picture, and that's my mistake. But I'm learning as I go. Like I don't have all this background of, oh, she probably went to school, got a degree and all this. I'm like, nope, I take a picture on my iPhone and just work with it and run with it. And that's all you can do. And
start with what you have.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to. And it's like really trial and error. Like just get up, try it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, do something else. Like you just have to try.
And learning from others. Like a really good videographer friend of mine once told me, you start with the equipment you have. You don't need a $5,000 camera.
Yeah.
You start with your iPhone and you hold it and you talk to it and you put it out there. And then maybe you were like, oh, I can afford a ring light. Let me grab that now. It is all about lighting. It is all, you can go sit outside in a beautiful day. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's just getting yourself out there. And then, Hallie and I had the opportunity of meeting Jesse, the owner of the Savannah Bananas. Mm-hmm. And if you don't follow that baseball team, incredible. It's amazing. And we have become friends with him over the years. And we got to have a one-on-one with him. And the biggest thing I took from it a few years ago was, if you're not trying at least one thing new every day, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And if you're not uncomfortable, then you're not doing it right. And so that's the one thing that I can share is, oh man, I don't know if I can do this. Oh, I don't really like how my hair looks today. It's not about being perfect. It's about being out there and being authentically, unapologetically you. And that's what I strive to be.
And at Das Greenhouse, that's an example. You're an example we give because it really is just start and have the discipline to keep doing it. Because you can post it one day, you're never going to see the result. But if you do it 90 days in a row, 120 days in a row, you're going to start to see, and then you can change and say, oh, that didn't work. This did work.
Yeah.
You're always iterating and testing.
Yeah.
And then the consistency and discipline behind it.
It is.
And it can't just be the high school person's job.
No.
It's got to be everybody's. Yes. And then executing on it.
And it's also listening to what your clients want to see, what your customers want to see, and your staff. That's who's in front of the clients. Like when we're not there at the store, we have a great crew. And as soon as we get back, like, hey, what was feedback? What did we hear from this? Or what did she say about how that fit? And taking that into account, but not just taking it into the account, but listening and following through with that.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Y'all have a busy fall coming up. Do we have anything that our listeners need to know about other than jforksdesigns.com? Go find you online, follow you on social media so you can see Hallie doing all of her magic.
Kind of being funny and
trying to
embarrassing ourselves a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anything coming? The Boerne Retailer Style Show
is coming up in September. We have like Rodman, we have Dickens on Main. I mean, fall is Boerne's big time to shine, especially with the small town events where, when they shut the street down or we have a parade or we've got the fair coming out. That's the great time to get out and start supporting local. You need a new outfit to go to the concert you're going to. Head to one of the retailers on Main Street. Let's bypass going to La Cantera or a big mall or a big corporation. And let's really bring it home to let these small businesses and these neighbors and friends that you have thrive with their family.
And in my opinion, fall clothing is the best clothing.
Oh, yeah.
And the cutest.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's our color scheme.
Yes.
Well, I know our audience has enjoyed getting to know you both, understanding what JForks is, what it's been over the years, and then the reality of Main Street retail business. It does need local support. It needs tourists to come in and say, hey, I saw you online. Let me look at it and get to know you in person, because that's a fun experience with a store like yours. You do see you online, and you will see you in the store.
And the local support means everything, because here we try to sponsor like our football teams and our baseball teams or your kid that's doing gymnastics. And when we say, if we're like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm tapped out this month, that's when we need the local support, because we're trying to support and use our money locally as well. And just, the city itself, I know that hotels can be full, but it doesn't necessarily bring people shopping downtown if they don't know who's down there or what we're doing.
Well said. And thank you both for everything you're doing. I know we'll find some more people to go follow your social media, go check out J Forks Designs. And then thank you for the example you're giving our retailers here locally, statewide, and the way that you're both building Texas.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.